Our interview this week on the Run Eat Drink podcast centers on one of my favorite beverages.
Oh, mine too.
Coffee.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that when we were a young podcast, I used to post daily coffee memes, and I still do. And one of the first people to interact with me was Dennis Garrett from Clever Bean and Creighton Edwards from Clever Bean. They are the owners, they are the founders, they are the
proprietors,
mad scientists, awesome coffee creators. And we are lucky enough to have them on our show to talk coffee. Welcome.
Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for the intro. I do like Mad Scientist the best.
That was do you?
That title.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we will put Mad Scientist in the lower third when we edit the video.
Yeah.
That helps
good.
us with liability too.
Oh, yeah.
So it's all right.
Early on in the podcast, you sent us a bag of your coffee beans. And that was so nice. We enjoyed that so much. We were so excited. Just a little bit of context for our Runcation Nation that we entered a contest to be a beta tester for your new cold brew system. And I was so excited. I don't know if, have we ever won anything as the podcast before?
I don't know that I've ever won anything. It's period. End of sentence.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
you guys deserve to win something at some point.
So we're feeling awesome. We're sipping on some of the cold brew right now that we made. And we just want to start kind of at the beginning. And how do you all know each other? How did you meet?
Man, that was a long journey.
Long journey.
We started out in Grand Junction, Colorado. That was where we were childhood friends, and we went to elementary school together, and then all the way to halfway through high school. When we were about 16, Dennis's dad actually got a new job up here in Utah and moved away, and him and I lost contact for a significant amount of time.
About 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years, which was absolutely crazy. And then we both realized that after going through college, there was another one of our friends that reconnected us when we were both talking that we wanted to try something entrepreneurial. We were both looking into the entrepreneurial space, trying to figure out a type of business or something that we wanted to create. And through that connection, we realized that we both were very serious about the idea, that we wanted to create something. Through talking and through research, through learning, we realized that there was a lot of things that we wanted to do. And what we needed to do to create that was to, in some way, shape, or form, create a community. And that's really where the idea of the coffee shop came from, and really what got us to work together.
Of all the things you could have done, you could have come up with all sorts of food or beverage, but what made you settle on coffee?
On coffee, I did work at Starbucks in 2007. It was during college, kind of a summer job. And at that point, I got to understand that coffee was more than just a beverage, more than just a drink. There's a whole community around that. And for me, I was just blown away with that and didn't really understand that at the time. Coffee ends up being a very good medium for human connection. One of the best in terms of a physical location where people from all walks of life are okay walking into a physical location and for the first time, just kind of go up to someone and then maybe greet them or meet them or say hello. There are a lot of first dates, a lot of really beautiful things that happen inside coffee shops. A lot of businesses get started. A lot of people pitching to us while we had the coffee shop open about starting other coffee shops, actually, which is kind of funny. It's a culmination of just a cultural center that you see when with the local city in particular. But yeah, there's a lot that I can kind of think about when it comes to coffee. It's very complicated, but it's also very, very simple. It's a simple drink that has been consumed for a long period of time. And going back to the history of, I think, a goat herder and then a goat kind of munching on some coffee or his goats and then figuring out, like, thinking, what's going on here? Why are they dancing like crazy? And then realizing, oh, there is this coffee, it's this cherry that they ended up eating. And then I think that ended up going to monks, where they ended up using that to be able to stay up for late nights. And then it spread across the world because a coffee is something you can't really keep secret for long. And the whole history of it is super fascinating. And then to be able to be a part of creating something physical and to be able to be a part of a community and to grow a community through just tons of people in this local area connected to all the high schools and everything. I mean, fascinating. I don't As you can tell, I don't know how to sum up all of these things, but what we wanted to do is to be able to figure out how do we create a physical space, get the doors open. That was we can talk about that if we want to, but that was a tough journey on its own.
Yeah.
Once we were able to open up the shop, to be able to let people define what it is and to be able to give people the freedom to express themselves for who they are. For someone to feel comfortable saying, this is maybe what I struggle with, or this is something that I'm having a tough time with, and to be that listening ear. It's so amazing. So just all of the little interactions that we've had over the couple of years that we're open, amazing. But just building a place centered around community doesn't mean that you're going to be able to be sustainable as a business. We realized that margins in coffee pretty low, and we didn't have a full kitchen involved where we can kind of cook in the back and make more exquisite lunches and dinners and everything. So we went pretty simple, but we ended up working with a lot of local bakeries and local partners to help kind of strengthen the local offering and to be able to bring more conversations together around that local aspect.
There are so many things that he hit on in that answer. And it's like, why coffee? You're talking about first dates.
Great question. I don't know how to answer that, as you can tell.
Like, why? There are a lot of reasons why coffee. You have a lot of reasons. You have a lot of why behind your success and behind your hard work and behind what you do. And when you said it was like it can be a connection, it can build a community, it can spark honest and genuine conversation.
Yeah.
We should tell you, I don't know if we have ever talked about this on social media or any part of our lives, anything like that. But when we started dating, one of our first dates was in a coffee shop.
Oh, wow.
So
when you said that, I was like,
true.
yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Why the name Clever Bean?
So clever was always an interesting word to us. We tossed around a lot. Our actual initial idea for like the health food delivery and everything is Huma food. And that's kind of what we had gone with, like food for humans. So it was something that made sense. And when we came to the coffee shop, we're like, that doesn't really make sense anymore. We're not really focused on food anymore. So what is it that we can kind of bring that that connection into, and start tossing around a lot of different words. Clever was one of those words that we felt didn't have a lot of association with it. There may even be occasionally some negative connotation to it in today's language where, that individual was clever, like maybe he took advantage of a situation or something like that. So we thought, what is the best aspect of clever that we can take from? And basically what we defined it as is clever is the shortest distance between 2 points without cutting corners. So essentially clever is the easiest way to get from point A to point B, and it's what someone may think about. And clever could be 30% preparation and 70% action. It could be just all action. There's always these different equations for every scenario, but clever was our ability to look at the world and say, can we look at all of these things slightly differently? Like, are there all these common ideas, not just in coffee, but in businesses in general, that we can kind of shift a little bit and try and do a little different? So for instance, one of the most random things that we did is that change annoys us. Like change when you actually pay at a cash register and get it back. So we took all of our prices, and after tax, they were all rounded to the nearest 50 cents. So for change, all we ever offered was a 50-cent piece and then dollar bills. You never got any pennies, any dimes, any nickels, any quarters. You just got a 50-cent piece.
Love
and it happened for two reasons. The first reason was, A, it was a lot easier to keep it going. The second reason is, where else do you get a 50-cent piece? When people would go home and put their hands in their pocket and pull out this 50-cent piece, there would always be a question of, where did I get this? And it would bring a remembrance of the coffee shop and potentially the experience that was had there. So again, a simple act of a transaction and someone paying money for a beverage. What we were trying to do is say, how can we think of this differently? And how can we look at it from a 2020 or at that point a 2019 perspective and make it to be more efficient, better, or different in some way? And so that was why Clever, or where Clever kind of came from, and we built on that idea.
So now you guys have the retail coffee shop and have converted and pivoted due to COVID. I'm saying that's probably going to be the sole driver of that. Can you talk a little bit about how and when you guys decided to make that that strategic move?
Yeah, definitely. Interesting date. March 16th was the day we closed down because of coronavirus. Obviously a lot of concern there and different things. We didn't really know what was going on. I'd gone through the numbers. There was some concern about, hey, if this thing really gets out of hand. At that point, I believe we were running out of toilet paper. The world was on fire. No one knew what was going on. So we closed down. Yeah. And when we closed down, we didn't really have any intention between the two of us to stop or to pause or anything like that. The shop was closed.
We did keep the online store open. So that entire time, that was something that definitely helped us to keep things going and stay afloat, was the support that we got in terms of our online coffee subscriptions, 12-ounce bags, and then also the different merch. But at the same time, we knew that we needed to come out with something unique, something different in terms of the online space. We can say locally, if we wanted to increase the revenues coming in, hey, we have this great local option, but someone outside of Utah may not necessarily care about that. But in terms of what led us to the point of creating our signature blend, there is a story behind that and something that we can share. Yes. But at the same time, the cold brew is something that made sense, because at the moment that we shut down, one thing we wanted to do was obviously keep drinking coffee, but there are certain things in terms of production that did stall. We didn't need to make a large batches of cold brew at one time like we needed for the shop for customers coming in. And at home, we wanted to make smaller batch or cold brew in smaller batches, which kind of led to everything that we have today.
Not only entrepreneurs in creating an online business, you're also dipping your toe into that world of being an inventor. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's, I have to imagine that really complicates things. It makes things very interesting. But talk a little bit about that Clever Cold Brewer. We have mentioned it in our social channels. People know that we're beta testing.
Yes,
We've
we talked about it
here.
Look at this.
And there it is.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have in it because, and actually there's been some improvements from the model that you guys have as well.
Oh, talk to us about this. Yes, we need to know.
As you guys said, you signed up for beta testing, and we appreciate that and really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about it, because just like this, we found that there wasn't a lot of options for cold brew on the market when we were looking at trying to make it at home. Now, the curious thing was we had actually run into this problem before we opened the shop, because we were, of course, testing our cold brew in the beginning to try and come up with the right recipe for what we're going to actually serve in the shop. So at one point in time, I want to say we had like 15, no, maybe like 10 mason jars in Dennis's fridge, just taking up all of the room and just overnight testing, just over and over, trying to find the right ratio with it. And what we came up with, we thought was good. We really enjoyed our cold brew. And then that was reflected when we opened the shop and became one of our most popular drinks. In fact, I believe it was our second most popular drink behind lattes as an overall category. The funny thing about this entire story, and Dennis working at Starbucks too, is that I didn't really drink that much coffee before we got together. In fact, I drank Folgers in Colorado at
There's nothing wrong with that.
Just drank Folgers all the way through and was perfectly happy with it. Had never even tried iced coffee or cold brew. And then I fell in love with it. Just absolutely fell in love with cold brew. And so during this entire process, after we were closed down, we started looking at different things, different ways that we could potentially scale our business. And we realized, okay, what we really need for this market piece is something that we can call our own. And the inventor side was one of those where it's like, we need something that's new, something that's improved, something that we believe is actually better on the market. And we thought that this was an area where we could create something. So to get into the actual brewer itself, the reason why we started down this pathway was not only knowing all of that, but then essentially for the first model, we had just a mason jar with a handle, and you would pour it into the other mason jar. It didn't even have the collar. The collar wasn't created yet, and it was a handled spout. So then there was another individual that helped with the shop and was a great customer and just a great friend of the shop, who had a 3D printer. And we just started messing with it. And we came up with the collar and different things and realized that, we can combine this, because one of the main issues that you have with cold brewers on the market right now is that you can get an airlock system when you flip it over, an airlock system when you try and harvest it, because all of the coffee goes against the filter. So we thought, okay, connecting two mason jars with a collar has the ability to do that. Then, of course, after a lot of testing, one of the ways is, if you guys saw the second video, flipping the brewer upside down different, it worked a lot better. So that was one of the pieces of information that we came with it. Another piece of information that we came with was that the 100 micron filter we were using left a little bit of sediment in the cold brew, and the sediment maybe wasn't the most enjoyable part of it. So we found a 50 micron filter, one that actually does a lot better job. And essentially what we were doing is just looking at all of this feedback from all of the beta testers and trying to come up with the best option. One of the last things that we have now, that I don't know if you saw on yours, but we have the filter where it can actually sit in the lid, so you can drain it off of the lid as well. And just trying to make this piece as effective as it could be in whatever that it's doing. And the other thing that we saw with cold brew when we were looking at the market is that cold brew, even when you're getting it from Starbucks, was not consistent. That it did not seem as though a big part of the market. Well, because we had come up with not only a bean blend that was very good for cold brew, but we had also come up with a great recipe because of the shop, we thought, okay, how can we make sure that someone consistently makes this cold brew the same way each time? Well, coffee is notoriously fickle with being able to measure it. Tablespoons can, weigh 10 grams or 15 grams. There can always be these different things going around it. So we instead said, can we create something that goes along as a subscription model that would give people an accurate amount they were to brew with every single time. So that was actually a big part of the entire system, was the subscription model on the back end, where we could not only offer beans that were meant for cold brew or come out with a great cold brew, but we could also offer the right amount so that people would get consistently good cold brew every time.
And I was going to say the importance of selecting the right beans and right blend is so important. I know that when I was a barista way back in the 90s, we were using like a Kenya AA as our cold brew base because it was a heavier body and higher acidity. But when you did a cold brew as opposed to extracting it with hot water, it cut down on the acidity. But you still got that deep flavor from that particular varietal. I also like the fact that this arrives and it's ready to rock, and you're not, to the uninitiated, you're not over grinding this and making it too fine.
True.
Or too coarse and you're wasting your beans. This is ground ready to go.
Yeah. So you don't have to guess.
That was a big benefit. We work with Mill Creek Coffee roasters over here in Utah. They've been roasting coffee for about 27 years now. They were fantastic when we were creating the signature blend originally. In fact, Stacy, who now runs the company, went up to Seattle and met me at the SCAA conference up there. And so we went through all the different booths and everything. She introduced me to some of their growers down. I believe I met their Costa Rican grower and a couple of the other ones as well. Just phenomenal to bring us into the world of coffee. And then they just set up different blends, different tastings, different cuppings for us until we came up with what we really wanted. And the key component with the coffee that we chose was that it was a daily drinker. It was a bold flavor. It did not have a lot of brightness or the fruity acidity that it feels like the industry in general is going towards, and then especially cold brew is going towards. So we wanted that more like bold daily drinker. This is coffee, not the maybe more specialty variety that you see a lot now. And they did a great job. Really had a good time testing all of that.
So our kit came with like the perfect bag, as you all were just talking about together. But it also came with one of my favorite things, caramel. Why? What was the impetus there?
When we're selling cold brew and also sampling out cold brew at the shop, caramel ended up being the most popular flavor for the cold brew, the most popular pairing with the cold brew. And then with some cream on there, that ended up being the standard that we ended up turning into a sticker. And we do post about here and there and things like that. But it does look cool. But overall, just the caramel and the taste of our beans, it has a subtle honey taste to it. Kind of that little bit of sweetness that comes out of comparing it from more of the hot brew, if you will. That does pair well with the caramel. Not saying that vanilla or anything like that is better, but yeah, I'm not sure how you pronounce it in different places.
Me either.
Caramel and caramel.
I don't know.
If we talk about caramel, probably need to know how we're going to say it.
Yeah, I got nothing.
You got nothing?
I have no. I say, like half the time I say caramel, half the time I say caramel. What do you, Dana?
I say caramel.
Caramel.
So that A does make it, because that A just loses it for me. It's caramel, and that second A doesn't even know it exists.
I don't even know. I think however you pronounce it, it's
as long as it tastes like it.
It's delightful. I love it. We just celebrated National Caramel Day. And I know that you are more partial to chocolate.
I tend to be, yes.
Yeah. Now, do you all have other flavors of syrup that you have up on your website?
Man, we don't have a ton of syrups. We've got vanilla and cane sugar on there. The cane sugar, we're using it in a lot of different recipes. One of the things that we wanted to do with this cold brewer is we thought, how is it that we can provide more with the brewing system that we've created? And it was, how can we represent cold brew in a way that's never been seen before? So I don't know if you guys have seen on our Instagram account, we've got a drink called the Palm in the Dark that's actually a fruit drink. Yeah. So we're talking grapefruit juice. We're talking pomegranate juice. There's some cold brew in there, some lime juice in there, and it's a fruity drink. It's interesting.
And
Yeah,
this
the
actually
fruitiness.
is going to dovetail into the next question
Yeah,
we were
it's-
going to ask, which
fire it
is,
up,
can you,
man.
with the Clever Cold Brewer, what drink should we make? What do you think we ought to do with our Clever Cold Brewer now that we're here, we're beta testing, and it doesn't have to be a traditional coffee drink. It could be something like what you're talking about here. What do you think we ought to do next?
Ooh, okay. So there's quite a few different recipes that we've been experimenting with, but I can't say that we've finalized yet. So we're still in that kind of phase where we're testing out stuff. One of the things that was really popular at the shop with a couple of people, and this might go more towards your chocolate side as well, is a cold brew float. So we were basically scoop of ice cream, pour some cold brew over the top. You're doing about a half ounce to an ounce of chocolate, and then you can drizzle a little bit over the top as well. And then in the shop, when we were open, we made a chocolate whipped cream that was actually 2 pints of heavy whipping cream. It was 2 ounces of vanilla and 1 ounce of chocolate, and probably the best thing that we had here. I mean, that was
N2O cartridge that works.
yeah, so excellent, and I just sit and eat it. So yeah, that's one. A cold brew float is one. Like I said, we're working on the sweetness a little bit on that one. Another thing that you can do is you can freeze the cold brew. I'm sure you guys have seen this, but you freeze them like ice cubes.
Ooh, like a granita.
Yeah.
Right?
So you can actually do that, but you can combine that with some chocolate, some different things as well, and make a fudgesicle out of it. So you can make a fudgesicle cold brew popsicle, and that is for summer. We did that when we first opened. It was fantastic.
That actually sounds really good. I love the hack that a lot of people do with cold brew where they make their ice cubes out of it.
This is just what I was
for
going to say.
the cold brew.
Yeah.
So you're not watering down your cold brew.
But I also think that we could have a cocktail. I know that you all are putting up like fantastic videos and recipes on your website and on social media with the mocktails, but I feel like there could be a cocktail there as well.
We've received some recipes from the beta testers group as well that are some good cocktail recipes and things like that. The goal is to come out with later either what we were known as the tipsy bean or the clever bean after dark. That's more of a cocktail. So we had martini glasses here for the shop because we would do affogatos with ice cream and espresso over the top. And it was always a really unique idea that we liked. The cocktail side, I think, is really interesting. And I think coffee pairs really well with a lot of alcohols, too, if done right.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I'm
A lot of experiments that we can definitely edit.
We'll share some of ours with you guys. We'll jot them down. We've played a little bit with your coffee already. Yeah, there's something called a cold fashioned. Yeah.
I'm telling you. And we still have a lot of research to do. We have a lot of cold brew to make and drink. But aside from cocktails, do y'all run? Are you runners?
So the only thing that we've ever run is a coffee shop. I'll be the first to admit.
Yeah.
Which is a marathon and not a sprint.
I would like to say that it is, but I don't know if it's actually as hard as a real marathon because we've seen marathon runners who have come into the coffee shop afterwards and oh my gosh, you guys definitly put it out there.
Man, we've only ever done a half marathon, so
I'm only half crazy.
yeah, we're only half crazy. But really, okay. So you are the experts in terms of the cold brew, and so. How should we have our cold brew at the end of a tough run or a tough race? How should we do that? What should we do?
Yeah, you're hot, you're tired, you're sweaty. What is the best way for us to enjoy some of this cold brew?
In my mind, it's immediately. It does have more caffeine than our recipe for drip coffee for hot brew. And so you do get that kind of afternoon kickback or pick me up. On a more serious note or a serious way of answering it is it's however you want to enjoy it. One of the things that we're having fun with is those mocktails and just trying different drinks and everything is to show kind of the versatility of it. Mm-hmm. And one thing that we're excited to do later on is to be able to grow the Clever Cold Brew Crew community, where we can get different recipes from all different places and to be able to showcase a lot of those fun different drinks. And we want people even doing maybe different giveaways or different things in the future where we can say, hey, whoever comes out with the most creative drink using our cold brew or using our cold brew mixing with these different ingredients.
It gives us a reason to be in the Run, Eat, Drink podcast test kitchen.
Yes.
Yes. And you always say, like when we have our gear on our website, that our it makes you run 17% faster or 19% faster. Do you what percentage do you think that the Clever Cold Brew makes you more
How much more clever?
How much more clever?
It's actually, we sent this to a lab. It was 22.9% was what the number came back at. It was very interesting because it was hard to kind of determine a base foundation of, how clever are people normally. But once we were able to establish that, they, took some different variables and a couple of things. And I'm hoping this answer itself, while not meaning anything, will at least represent that we're slightly more clever because I've been drinking our coffee all day.
Yes.
So I have absolutely no idea, but it does have more caffeine in it, which hopefully makes you move quicker and do more things and therefore be more clever as well.
Yes,
so
by the definition that gets you from point A to point B more efficiently. 22.9%. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Yes.
We make a lot of weird stickers too. That'll probably go on a sticker somewhere.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
We'll put a disclaimer. Warning will not actually make you 22. Yeah.
Like in the tiny print.
Like I always
asterisk.
My joke is always that the scientists in the Run Eat Drink podcast towers have conducted all this experimentation. So
like we have
we know what it's like to have a team of scientists at our disposal, just like you guys.
Perfect. We'll have our team contact
your team. Exactly. We'll do some joint research. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've been innovating online retail for coffee. You're inventing. Can you tell us what is coming on the horizon, or let us in on any top secret intel that's going on at the Clever Bean HQ?
Ooh, top secret intel. So right now, a lot of what we're doing is focused on the production side and trying to figure out that production for us. But one of the things that we have not released yet, and what we were going to bring today, is we actually are starting a Kickstarter account for the Clever Cold Brewer. Now, the reason we're doing that is it gives us a platform to not only take pre-orders, but also to access a bunch of other people who are interested in new type of invention things. Our Kickstarter campaign is fairly short. It's only going to be about 30 days. And just looking into different things with Kickstarter, you try and get funded as quickly as possible to bring that attention in and different things like that. So that's one of the big ones that we have not announced yet, that we have not talked to our followers about. We will be talking to them about it here, trying to get some excitement for it, because to be perfectly honest, this is the representation of everything we've been working on for the last year. And we're really excited to get it out there. We'll be probably considering different things like offering different blends, having different bottles of syrup, basically creating more of a holistic area around cold brew with our website, creating more ways that you can create it at home and things like that.
That is very exciting. That is really cool. Congratulations on getting ready to do that.
Good luck with it too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I'm very excited for you. And
yes.
We are looking for excuses to travel once races begin resuming across the country. And Utah is on our list of places we want to go. We love that kind of terrain. Just the natural beauty up there. We're very excited, and we love to get up there and have a chance to finally meet you guys in person.
Yes.
But yeah, would love to. Please let us know when you come down here. Because although if you do expect us to run, we might try, but it'll be funny.
You could if you wanted to. We are run, walk, runners. So we have shirts that say we're not slow. And then on the back, it says we make the most of our race entry fee, because we bring up the rear. We try to stay on the course as long as possible so that we can see the world that way. So
yeah, see, that justification is clever thinking. So just based on the fact that you're drinking on coffee, I'm having to think that 22.9% is spot on.
22.9%. 22.9%. Where can our listeners and our Runcation Nation find out more about you?
Our website, thecleverbean.com, would say Instagram is probably going to be the best place just to see what's actually going on and to see our activity and all of that. It would be at the Clever Bean for Instagram. And that's also Facebook too.
And that'll be a big part where we're pushing out Kickstarter and kind of showcasing. One little thing to say too, just as a thank you for letting us be on the show and for testing out the cold brewer. We did create a discount code on our website. So just RED for Run Eat Drink. But if you do RED at the end of checkout, it's 20% discount. So as a thank you to you guys and your listeners, that'll be active till the end of April as well.
Oh,
so
that's really so nice. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for testing out the brewer.
Thank you, Dennis Creighton. You guys are awesome.
Thecleverbean.com.
Take advantage. Their coffee is outstanding. They do a great job. They're not just doing like a uniform roast on their beans. They're bringing out the nuances and the flavor of their coffee. You're going to love their coffee.
Their coffee, you could try it out while you're waiting for the cold brewer to emerge in its final
form.
And we hope you enjoyed just hearing the passion and the hard work that's behind their coffee and their Clever Cold Brewer.
You know what this means.
This is a longer episode.
A little bit.
This is a longer episode, great for a long run or a commute. But sadly, we have come to the end of episode 161. We'll run for Clever Cold Brew.
Yes, we will. Arguably, we did. We ran on Clever Cold Brew. I know that I drank some before we ran, going out there.
And then we had it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
What a fun time. Thank you guys so much for joining us on your long run, your commute to work, around the house, or wherever you are.
I'm your host, Aimee.
And I'm your co-host, Dana.
Stay safe and well, and we will accomplish, explore, and indulge with you really soon.